What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the second full week of the 30-day bootcamp. I'm excited to be back once again. As always, we had a heck of a week last week, talked about a lot of great stuff, and I'm ready to dig right back in and pick it up this week with marketing. I know we talked a little bit last week about how to get all the things sort of pre-marketing established in your business so that when you get to this point, when you get to the point where you're starting to go out and seek out clients and really start trying to generate revenue in your business, that you're in a good place mentally to do so. It's really of utmost importance that those pieces that we talked about last week are in place first. If you're in business, if you've been in business for a while and you haven't, dove into like mindset and beliefs and all that, really important to go back and do that as well. But today we're going to start our journey into the marketing section of the bootcamp. And I really wanted to share with you guys some of the big concepts that that I use in my business and that have helped me to identify who my ideal clients are and to create really like a great tribe of clients that I can go back to over and over again. And it's really important that all of these things kind of like play together, right? So it's like marketing is just one piece of the puzzle, and then like I said, week one, those items are all a piece of the puzzle as well. And then after marketing, you're getting into sales and things like that. So there's a lot of pieces that are moving here throughout your business that you want to make sure that are all sort of firing on all cylinders. And so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and shoot over to the other screen, and we will just take off today with marketing. Let's dive right in. So I want to talk today with you guys about creating a client avatar. And if this is something that you're familiar with, still listen in. You might find some things in here that you haven't thought about before. If you're not familiar with what a client avatar is, what you're basically doing is essentially like listing out the characteristics or the traits of your ideal client, okay? And this is going to be like ultimately who you market to. So let's dive in. I'll explain more about how this works, and we'll kind of talk a little more in depth about this as we move through the presentation. So creating a client avatar is essential in helping you determine who your ideal client is. And I guess the simplest way to think about this is that like you want to make sure that when you go out and you're putting your marketing efforts out into the field, that you're not marketing to the wrong people, right? Like it wouldn't make sense for you to go out and like offer photography to somebody who didn't care about photography at all, right? So it's like, let's just say, different example. Let's say that you like sold seafood, right? And you went to a place that basically were like, how do I want to say this? It's not seafood's probably seafood's probably not the right example. So let me take it back. So what you're thinking about when you think about your avatar, okay? You want to make sure that you're positioning your offer in front of people who want what you have to offer. Okay, that's a better way to think about it. We'll leave seafood out of it for now. But I want you guys to think about, it doesn't make any sense if you try to put your product in front of somebody who doesn't want it, okay? And quite simply, a lot of times people do that. Like people go onto Facebook, people will say something like they'll put their offer out there for the world, and it's just like, hey, free photo session or mini session, or hey, book my photography session, whatever, to everybody on their friends list. And the reality that everybody on their friends list is going to want what they have to offer is pretty small. So what I want to show you guys how to do is actually start to really target the right audience for your marketing efforts, okay? So please forgive me for the bumps there with the seafood analogy. That was not planned, and obviously I didn't have anywhere to go with that one. So you create your avatar by simply and logically listing out all of the traits that your ideal clients embody. And so it's, again, think about who do you want to serve with your business, right? That's sort of step one. So let's just kind of go to the next slide. We'll start talking about how to break these down. The first step to this that I've written out is identify, right? So we're going to identify who your ideal client is. And this is what you're going to do, right? You're going to start thinking of things like these questions, okay? So how old is your ideal client? What is their occupation? What is their gender? What are some identifiable traits that they possess? So like what are some things that like you have common ground with on yours? So say you're really into something, like say you're really into like fitness, right? You can probably identify and relate to that particular client really well because you know a lot about fitness world. So identifiable characteristics are a really good thing, to be able to have that sort of common ground. When you get on the phone with people or when you're talking to people about their sessions with you, it's nice to be able to understand where they're coming from as well. So what activities do they enjoy? I think a lot about this stuff. People don't have to like exactly what I like, but if I know a lot about what they like, it makes my job a lot easier when I'm going to build rapport with them. What do they like to read? What brands do they promote, or what brands do they wear? And you'll see this when you guys start thinking about this. Like, you'll see this kind of stuff all the time. Like when you look at people posting on Facebook, like they're always excited. Like I see people posting in the wedding world about like Jimmy Choos and got their dress from like a certain vendor or whatever. So start thinking about like, what brands do your ideal client promote? What is most important to them on a personal level? Are they into charities? Are they into certain type of events? Like what are those? What are their characteristics and things that matter to them the most? Where do they live, right? So geographic location is going to be kind of a big deal unless you're traveling all over the place to these people. So the idea here is that the reason I want you guys to think about the avatar first is because most people never take the time to do this. And what they do is they just start a business and they jump right into that business, and they're not really even sure like who they're marketing to, who they're putting their efforts out in front of. And here's the thing, guys, when you start paying for advertising, like if you pay for Facebook ads or Google ads or whatever, if you're not marketing it to the right people, you're really throwing money away. So having a client avatar is a really good starting point for this. And this can evolve over time, right? This can evolve. You could also put these offers in front of other people, but I think having a good baseline with an avatar is really the starting point for getting marketing rolling. So I want to use an example here from everything we chatted about as far as like, actually, let me go back. I want to start an example with you guys first. So let's just go with like, how old are they, right? I created a little sample for you guys. So we're trying to identify an avatar. Now I'm going to use a woman who is basically engaged or going to be married soon, right? So when I think about age, I think about 27, right? 27, the last I checked, was like the average female age for getting married in the United States. So my average client age or target age will be 27. Occupation, I just went random with nursing. It could be anything. It could be multiple occupations as well. Gender, female. So this is important to a degree. Like if you're working in a niche or a genre like boudoir where it's pretty heavily female targeted, you're probably not going to try to be marketing to men. Although there are some concepts towards marketing to men that work as well. But by and large, you're going to try to target females first. Identifiable traits. So like, what I put is like loves shops at Nordstrom, loves the beach. She's obviously engaged. Loves dogs, is like a huge animal activist, all of those things. So like I'm trying to use all of these questions that I just put into this example to really start to specify who it is that I want to put my marketing efforts in front of. Now, again, I want you guys to understand it doesn't have to just be this one exact like sort of mold of a person that you can market to, but this really helps you establish a baseline for who it is that you want to market towards, okay? So now I'll move to the next slide because I sort of wanted to show you how it looks all kind of written and wrapped up. So you would say something like, if you really wrote down what your avatar looks like. So my ideal client's a 27-year-old female. We'll call her Jane. She works as a nurse. Jane's into shopping at Nordstrom, loves spending time at the beach with her fiance. She's getting married next year to her fiance, Jim, and they'll live in Virginia Beach. Jane has a French bulldog she rescued from the ASPCA, and she is a huge animal rights activist. So this sort of just embodies the characteristics of the actual ideal client that you want to work with, okay? And from there, you can sort of move into like other things, like shouldn't have to just be a nurse. She could be a teacher. She could work for the government. She could, you can start to experiment with this a little bit. But at the end of the day, you're really just trying to get a streamlined idea of who you're going to be putting your marketing efforts in front of so that you're not throwing money away as you move forward. So let's talk about targeting. Okay, so really the biggest thing is like once you've identified your avatar and who you want to start to serve as clients, you want to make sure that your messaging is pretty dialed in, and messaging is really important. And so I had another example here, and this is just kind of random, like off the top, but like you want to be able to identify when you start to target your clients, like what is it that they're afraid of or what is it that they're in need of, right? And again, this is sort of a silly example, but just to paint a picture. So, are you worried about getting stuck on the interstate with no cell service to call for help? Right? And then you position how you are the solution to that problem. So, okay, switch to whatever ABC brand mobile today and put those worries behind you for good, right? So you see the simple example of, you can identify that there's a problem that somebody has, and then you can sweep in and present and position yourself as the solution to that problem. That's the mindset that you want to carry into your messaging. If you just put something random out there that doesn't apply to what somebody needs, they're like 99 out of 100 times going to skim right past it. So again, pardon the analogy here, but just a random thought, like nobody would want to get stuck out on the interstate with no cell service, right? So, if you had a solution to that where like coverage was 100% uptime, they were always covered, they knew that if they had to make a call, they could, and you were that solution, then you could position your message and your wording in that message to this particular type of client and do it in a way that really is appealing to them. And that's the idea as you move into marketing your photography services to whatever niche that you serve. And it doesn't matter whether it's wedding, pets, family, boudoir, whatever. You can message this stuff, basically set it up so that you're messaging effectively to the right people. And if you don't do that, you're going to be wasting a lot of time and money, I promise. And sorry, I ran off the frame here at the end, but brands market this way all the time. And if you start paying attention to it, like you'll notice it when you see it in commercials on TV and things like that, you are always being marketed to. So next time you actually sit in front of the TV or see ads or anything like that, just understand that you are being marketed to. There's always a way to try to appeal to you as the consumer first. You have to do that to your client as well. Let's keep diving in. Again, so the objective of doing this is to create messaging that is powerful and effective. If you have a weak message when you're trying to reach out to your clients, or if you have a message that's not really appealing to them, why would they want to move forward and proceed with working with you, right? You've got to create something that hooks that client in. You've got to create something that makes them want to work with you, okay? And that's the thing. If you don't do that, then your odds of landing them as a client are pretty slim. So if you solve a problem and you create a result that your ideal client's looking for, and you position your message in front of them properly, then you're going to be in a great position to reach them, right? So you have to make sure, and when I say solve a problem, well, let's just back up. Photography isn't necessarily solving a problem, right? But like I've seen it in the boudoir field where there's a problem of like somebody's got confidence issues or self-esteem issues or whatever. I feel like we solve a problem in that sense with what we do. But photography is not always about solving a problem. It could be just about providing a service that somebody has a need for, right? Like wedding photographers. The brides and grooms always have a need for photography. So there's always sort of a demand and a market there for that, right? So what you want to think about is, how are you positioning yourself in front of those people better than anybody else, right? And you need to consider, are you spending money, advertising, or are you spending time advertising to people that aren't getting married? Because if you're doing that, you're kind of just, you're running in place, basically. You're wasting time and money. So that's really important to think about. But doing all this positions you as the expert. And again, I'm not sure why the slide's running off the screen here. It looks great on my side. But anyways, when you can do this smoothly and efficiently, and when you can speak to either the problem or the scenario that they need help for, or they need basically solved, right? They need wedding photography, or they need portrait or family photography, and you can sweep in there and you can provide really efficient and well-crafted messaging to that client, you're going to strike a nerve with them, and it's going to inspire them to take action, to click the link to get to your website, to click the contact form to reach out to you. And the better your messaging is, the better the odds of bringing people in to work with you are going to be. So it's really important to consider that as you're putting your messaging together. And it all goes back to that avatar, right? To knowing who it is that you actually want to work with in the first place. If you don't have that figured out, you really are going to be spending a lot of time and money, and it's going to be frustrating and get really expensive when you can't, land the clients that you want to work with. So just keep that in mind. So let's talk about taking it online. So you've created your avatar, you know who you're going to be working with or who you want to be like messaging towards. You've basically figured out, how do I best position myself and create the right message to appeal to the right clients. Now I've got to get it out online in front of people and into the world. And that's one of the big things where it's like, okay, now I've done all of this work from like day one in this bootcamp where I've started with mindset, and then I've worked all the way to this point where I'm marketing and I'm trying to land clients now. Now it's time to take it online. And the idea is that your messages, right? You're going to create these messages that are really going to speak to the needs of your ideal client. And the better you can relate to the person that you want to work with, the better the odds are of them seeking you out or seeing your message and clicking and reaching out to work with you. Okay, so that's cool. You can speak with authority when you craft your messages this way. You can speak with authority as the expert because you already understand their problem or the pain that they're in, and you've got the solution. So again, I don't think of like needing a wedding photographer or a photographer as a pain point, so to speak, but let's just call it like it is. When somebody's planning an event and photography is one of the items they need covered, you automatically, if you provide the service that they need, then you have a solution for them. Now, are you the best solution for that person? That's going to be up to you to determine, and it's going to be up for them to believe or not. So, how you craft your message is going to make a big difference, and whether they move forward with you and book. And the biggest thing, as always, is research. So one of the big things I always think about is in every line of work and every industry, and it's, again, specifically in photography. I mean, this is one of these things that things are evolving all the time, right? Like the type of clients that we work with. I mean, the type of buyer behaviors, all of this stuff evolves and changes. So one of the biggest things that you can do for yourself that doesn't really require any financial output, just more or less time, is research. Okay, so the more you can research and figure out what the market is looking like, where brides are spending money, or where your ideal client, if they're not brides, is spending money, like what are they looking for? What does your ideal client want? Like research those things. And so like you can combine that research with your avatar and like have this really great fusion of like, oh my God, I know exactly where my ideal client is. I know exactly how to reach out to that client now. And I know exactly how to craft the right messaging that inspires them to want to work with me. So I think it's like any line of work. It's like even being in school where you always had to do like, research papers and things like that. It's not a whole lot different. You're really trying to figure out what the best practice and the best case scenario in the market is to reach the ideal client that you want to work with. And if you guys will tighten that part down, like if you'll really create the avatar, really do the research and start to put these things together, you'll start to find that when you do start spending money on ads, that your ads are going to be much more efficient because you're going to be putting them in front of people who want what you have to offer and not some like random person who has no interest. Okay. One of the biggest mistakes I made when I started marketing was just that. I would just throw myself out there. Facebook's got this thing where you can like boost post or something. Boost posts hardly ever work. It's just nothing. I mean, you basically are putting that post out there in front of a bunch of random people. Same sort of concept. It's like if you throw your offer out in front of 1,000 people and only maybe like 5% of those people want what you have to offer, you're wasting a lot of money on the other 95% who just don't care. So think about this. Research your market. Create your client avatars. Think about what it is. Who it is that you want to serve and what it is that you want out of that relationship with the client, and then carry that into your messaging moving forward. All right. And then as we get in more to like platforms and things like that and how to start positioning ourselves in front of people, we'll start talking more about this messaging throughout the week. But for now, I just want you guys really think about, how, like what your avatar looks like, what you're going to do to reach the right client avatar. Who do you guys want to work with? Right? That's like the biggest thing. Just figuring out who you want to have in front of the camera first and foremost, and what kind of person. For me, I know people that appreciate what I have to offer, people that I connect with, like somebody who's laid back, somebody who, is open-minded, somebody like we have a lot of similarities. That's typically my ideal client is somebody I can really like get in the same groove with on a session. And so you guys think about that on your end too. And, if you want to also, while you're creating your avatar, feel free to list out the people that you don't want to work with as well, because there are a lot of people that you just would like probably never want to work with either. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And hopefully if you guys haven't created an avatar, you'll do it today or do it over the course of this week, and really just start to get a clearer picture for what, what your ideal client looks like, who it is that you want to work with, so that as you're moving forward in your business, you're not worrying about like, am I putting my message in front of the wrong people? Because I've literally spent thousands of dollars marketing to the wrong people, and I don't want you guys to make that same mistake. Okay, so if you guys need us, again, if you have any questions about avatars, reach out, drop a comment, hit us up. We're always happy to chat with you guys. Just once again, we're happy to get on the phone, chat, 30, 45-minute chat. If you need help, just tightening up your business, getting it to the next level, anything like that, we got you guys. Okay, so reach out anytime. If you want to book the call at 7steps6figures/apply, and we're happy to chat with you anytime. Okay, hope you guys have a great week. If you check on the top of the page as well, we go live tomorrow at 1 p.m. So the timing this week is a bit off. We've got some meetings this week happening, and so our time frame's off. So we'll catch you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. And until then, have a great day. Be fearless, take action, and live empowered. We'll talk to you guys soon.